Hey y'all, gather round. Let me tell you about the day this little town of Red Hollow, out in the middle of nowhere, got turned upside down by a guy named Jake Tanner, a man who wasn't supposed to be a hero. But damn if he didn't rewrite that script in one heartbeat. Picture this. Main Street, dusty and sunbaked. The kind of place where the gas station coffee tastes like regret, but you drink it anyway. Jake, this rough around the edges biker with a leather vest and a skull tattoo creeping up his neck, was just passing through, grabbing a cup before hitting the road. It's a Tuesday morning. The air's got that sharp bite of early fall, and Jake's standing there, sipping his coffee, when he spots this guy across the street, shifty, twitchy, like he's got a secret burning a hole in his pocket. Jake's eyes follow the guy's gaze, and there's this kid, maybe 7, in a bright yellow hoodie, kicking pebbles outside the diner while her mom's inside paying the check. The guy, let's call him Ray, he's got this look cold, calculated, like he's measuring the distance between him and that kid. Jake's gut twists. He sees Ray's hand slip under his jacket, catches the glint of something metal, and before his brain can catch up, his body's already moving. The shot cracks the air like a whip, birds scatter, and Jake's on the ground, hand clamped to his side, blood seeping through his fingers. The kid, Ellie, she's frozen, wide-eyed, her little backpack slung low. Jake grits his teeth, forces a grin, and rasps, "You good, kid?" She nods, trembling, as her mom bursts out of the diner, screaming. Ray's already bolting, disappearing into an alley like the coward he is, but Jake doesn't care about him right now. He's just staring at Ellie, making sure she's still breathing, still whole. Sirens wail in the distance, and Jake's world starts to blur. Antiseptic, flashing lights, the paramedics shouting. GSW, left abdomen. He's losing blood fast. Now, you gotta understand, Jake wasn't some saint. He rode with the Iron Wolves, a crew with a rap sheet longer than the highway out of town. Folks in Red Hollow, they'd crossed the street when they saw that wolf patch on his vest. To them, he was trouble, always had been, always would be. But trouble or not, he took a bullet for a stranger's kid, and word like that spreads faster than wildfire. By the time Jake's wheeled into the hospital, the news is already out, carried on the wind, from barrooms to gas stations. His crew hears it first at Rusty's Tavern, where a kid barely old enough to shave runs in, panting. Jake's down took a hit for some girl. No questions, no hesitation. Keys hit the bar top, boots hit the pavement, and the engines start roaring. An hour later, the hospital parking lot's a sea of chrome 50, 60, maybe 100 bikes, lined up like soldiers, engines idling low, a growl that says, "We're here, and we ain't moving." Inside, the waiting room's tense. Nurses keep sneaking glances, the security guards gripping his radio a little too tight. They see the leather, the tattoos, and they're thinking trouble's about to spill over. But the wolves aren't here to start anything. They're here for Jake, standing watch like they've done 100 times before through bar fights, busts, and worse. Ellie's mom, Sarah, she's sitting there, clutching her daughter, and she catches the eye of one of the riders, a big guy named Cole. She whispers, "Thank you," and he just nods, like it's the most natural thing in the world. Jake's in surgery, floating in that hazy place between here and gone. The bullet tore through muscle, missed his guts by a hair. The surgeon calls it a miracle. Jake calls it dumb luck. He's drifting in and out, catching flashes Ellie's yellow hoodie, the beep of a monitor, the faint rumble of Harley's outside. When he comes to, Cole's there, leaning against the wall, helmet in hand. "You're a damn fool," Cole says, but there's a grin in his voice. Jake tries to laugh, winces instead. "Kid's okay?" he asks. Cole nods. "Kid's fine. You though? You're gonna have a hell of a scar." See, here's the thing about Jake, he's no stranger to scars. He's got a past full of wrong turns, bad calls, a brother he lost to a bar fight gone south years ago. He's never been the guy who saves the day, more the guy who starts the fight and regrets it later. But something about Ellie's face, those big, trusting eyes, it hit him somewhere deep, somewhere he thought was long buried. And when Sarah brings Ellie to see him, the kid clutching a crumpled drawing of a stick figure biker and a girl in a yellow hoodie, Jake feels that weight again. "This is you," Ellie says, pointing at the drawing, her voice all serious. "You're my hero." Jake shakes his head, mutters, "Heroes don't have rap sheets, kid." But she just giggles and says, "You're still mine. Now, Let's talk about Ray, the guy who pulled the trigger. Word is, he wasn't just some random thug. He had a grudge, old and festering, tied to Sarah's late husband, who'd crossed Ray years back over a land deal gone sour. Ray saw Ellie as a way to settle the score, a twisted kind of revenge. When the sheriff, a guy named Carter, shows up at the hospital, he's got that look, half respect, half headache. He corners Cole outside. I get what Jake did, he says, but this many bikers? It's making folks twitchy. Cole doesn't blink. We're here for our guy. You want us gone? Tell Jake to walk out. Carter sighs, mutters something about not blocking the ambulance bay, and leaves it at that. It's as close to a blessing as they're gonna get. Days pass, and the wolves don't budge. Rain comes down in sheets, soaking their boots, but they're still there, taking shifts, keeping watch. Inside, Jake's fighting his own battle, not just the pain, but the voice in his head that says he doesn't deserve this loyalty, doesn't deserve Ellie's crayon hero. He thinks about his brother, Tommy, how he'd have been out there with the wolves, probably giving Jake hell for playing the martyr. But every time Ellie visits, bringing juice boxes and stories about her day, that voice gets quieter. One day, she leans in, whispers, "Can I ride your bike when you're better?" Jake chuckles, says, "Kid, you'd need a helmet bigger than your head." She just grins, like she's already planning it. By the time Jake's strong enough to stand, the town's starting to see him differently. Orderlies whisper about him in the halls. One mentions a knife fight Jake took on years ago to save a friend. Another says, "Guess he's not all bad." Reputation's a funny thing. It sticks like tar, but one move can crack it open. When Jake finally walks out, pale but upright, the wolves are waiting. Ellie runs up, throws her arms around him, careful of his bandage. Sarah's behind her, eyes wet, mouthing, "Thank you." Jake's Harley's at the front, polished to a shine, new grips and all. Cole hands him the keys. "You're leading," he says. Jake shakes his head. "Not yet." But he fires the engine, lets it roar once, a promise he's still in the fight. The ride home's slow, through backroads Tommy used to call the soul stretchers, all curves and open sky. The wolves follow, their engines a steady pulse, like a heartbeat tying them together. Ellie and Sarah watch from a hill, waving until the bikes are specks. Jake feels the wind, sharp against his skin, and for the first time in years, he's not just running from something. He's riding toward it. Weeks later, Jake's back on Main Street, and there's this bench by the diner, new, with a plaque that reads, "For the man who moved first." Next to it, Ellie's drawing, laminated, a little piece of her heart left for the world. Jake sits there, tracing the words, not sure who put it up, Sarah, the wolves, or some stranger who heard the story. People pass by, some nod, some don't. He doesn't need them to. This isn't about him. It's about that split-second choice, the kind that changes everything. So what do you think? Was Jake a hero, or just a guy in the right place at the wrong time? Could you move like that? No hesitation, for a stranger? Drop a comment, tell me where you're watching from, and let's talk about what makes a moment matter. Hit that like button, subscribe, tap the bell, because stories like this, they're the ones that remind us who we could be.